It me reporting whatever the fuck I want.
You don't own me.
Whatever.
You should be scared.
It's tea time. Hello and welcome to Mad Hatter News. My name is Sarah. I'm your host and I'm an ex-Washington, D.C. news reporter turned Chicago-based comedian. What we do here on Mad Hatter News is we talk about what's been going down on my TikTok this past week in the news and what people have been saying. So feel free to go to Tea Time with Sarah and follow on TikTok. Also make sure to subscribe on Mad Hatter News on Spotify and on YouTube right now so you can see us next week. Now on to the news. Okay, y'all, so this week, Rudy Giuliani came out and said that he lied on some black women in the South. If you remember, in 2020, in the last election, Trump was a standing president at the time, and Trump was adamant that people were messing with the ballots in the ballot office. He's like, oh, people are messing with the ballots. Somebody is, throwing away all the Trump votes and so on. So Rudy Giuliani went out of his way to take a video excerpt from the election office in Georgia, and it did not show these women doing anything out of the norm. I've seen the video, and basically he's just saying these two women in the ballot office, mother and daughter duo who were working there, were throwing away the ballots, which is absolutely not true. It just wasn't true. They just found out in court that it wasn't true. He just said that he lied. These women, Ruby Freeman and Wandrea Moss, were a mother-daughter duo who worked in the election office, and Rudy Giuliani just said that they're throwing away ballots. What? Why would he say that? It wasn't caught on camera. He did show video footage, but it didn't show anything. It was very hard to decipher what was even going on. It just looked like they were doing their jobs, just like everybody else was. But the thing was, this mother-daughter duo had to go under an alias. Their lives were being threatened. People were showing up on their doorstep. These are black women in the South. Not just the South, but in Georgia. Now, if you know anything about anything with the Deep South, you know that the standing president's legal team saying that these black women in the South were messing with conservative votes in a presidential election, that could possibly be homicide. But did Rudy Giuliani care? No. Rudy Giuliani did not give a flying F, but he lied on these women just to create this false scenario, just to keep pushing the agenda that, oh, Trump's just not getting votes because they're throwing them away. And these women could have easily lost their lives. They ended up suing Rudy Giuliani, thank God. They were able to do that and stand up for themselves, and it came out that he lied. And not only did he lie, but he came out and said that he thought his lie was free speech. Free speech to lie? Free speech to lie. Rudy Giuliani has been a lawyer for decades. Not only has he been a lawyer, but he has been in government, and he was the standing president's legal advisor. This is not someone who doesn't know the law. This is not someone who makes mistakes like that. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he did not care that these women could have potentially been murdered because of what he knew was a lie. But he did it anyway. And that's the thing. I am not Republican. I'm not Democrat. I'm not on either side. I'm on the side of truth and logic. That's what I like, and I think that everybody should do that. I think it's really weird when people identify with a political party and just support them no matter what, because either side can lie. Either side does lie. Either side does do whatever benefits them the most. They do, but we need to call them out when they do that. We need to, as a people, call out the political parties, no matter what you mostly identify with. If you are too liberal, that's a problem too. If you don't call out Democrats or the Democratic Party whenever they do something wrong, that's a problem too. That's a problem too. My whole thing is I am a patriot at the end of the day, and I did say this in the last Mad Hatter News episode, but I'm a patriot, and what that means is completely different than what society kind of accepts it to mean now. Patriotism now is kind of like just ignorance. That's a general consensus of Americans. If you are from any other country, just so you know, if somebody says patriotism to the United States, even Americans think of that as ignorance. Oh, they just must be an ignorant person. They must be conservative. They must be on the right. That's absolutely not the case. Patriotism is standing up for what your country was supposed to be, which is equal rights for all. Standing up for your fellow countrymen. That's patriotism. Not agreeing with political agendas. Not agreeing to the government business side, because the government is business at the end of the day. Unfortunately, the government is business. And that's a problem in and of itself. But Rudy Giuliani having any ounce of power in this country right now is just insane to me. He was born when Hitler was still in power. Why are people who were born when Hitler was still in power having any power right now? It should be the people who were born in the 70s and 80s, at the very least. 60s, 70s, and 80s. I'm going to go even as far as to say boomers should be in power, but these are not boomers. Rudy Giuliani is not a boomer. This is someone who was born when Hitler was in power. To the rest of us, Hitler, that whole Holocaust era, that was history. In our minds, when we think of that, that's history. No. People that were born in that era are the ones that are making the laws now, are the ones who are in power now, are the ones that are in control now. Why? Why? The people who were born in the 70s and 80s are the ones who should be making the majority of the decisions now. And you know why? It's because they know what society wants. They're within society. They grew up around the people that are now affected by society's decisions. If we're going to talk about government being a business, then let's talk about it. In business, you have to change with the times. Technologically, societal-wise, you have to change with what society is doing at that time in order for your business to succeed. If you stay in the past, your business will not thrive. It will not survive. So if we think about government in terms of business, which we have to, unfortunately, because they are one and the same, but let's just accept that just humoring it. If we accept that, then shouldn't government change with the times as well in order to succeed? Which means put people in power who know what needs to be done, who know what society needs. That means people who are born in the 60s, 70s, 80s, they should be the ones making the laws and the rules. They shouldn't be baby governors. They shouldn't be baby politicians. They should be the ones that are making the bulk of the decisions in order for the government to succeed, in order for the business of America to succeed. But that's not what they're doing. That's not what they're doing. And that's why it's failing. Hello? I mean, this is a no-brainer. I'm a girl on Mad Hatter News with blue hair talking about this. Why do I make more sense than the government? It's just out of control. It's out of control. Speaking of people who were born when Hitler was in power, Mitch McConnell recently had a stroke on national TV where he just zoned out in the middle of talking. Now, we know that it hasn't come out that he actually had a stroke. Nobody's actually said that, but we know what a stroke looks like. He definitely had a stroke on camera while at a press conference. And a lot of us did think that it was just another one of these old farts that trail off in the middle of their speeches like Trump used to do. Trump did the same thing. Other politicians have done the same thing where they're at their little podium and then they'll just like stare off into the wild blue yonder and just stop talking. I don't know if they're all having strokes, but he just stared off into space. And then they escorted him away mid-sentence. He didn't even finish what he was trying to say. Why are these people in power? Why are these people making decisions? They are way, way too old. Way too old. Biden, our standing president right now, Biden was born when Hitler was in power. Why? Why are these people who were born when Hitler was in power still in power? It makes no sense. Makes no sense. No sense. But Biden did come out with a very interesting campaign video that I'm going to show right now.
I like my coffee dark. reality are we in right now? I want to know who's in control of this matrix.
Now, while that is very funny, I agree. We are Americans, and we definitely have a sense of humor that's very specific to America. The rest of the world is waiting to see who the president is going to be. All of the world is waiting to see. They're waiting to see not only the outcome of the election, but they're watching our campaign videos too. They want to see who even is in the running. Because no one cares who the Prime Minister of the UK is. No one cares who the Prime Minister of Canada is. No one gives a flying F, because it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But what does matter is who the President of the United States is, because that affects everyone in the entire world. So imagine you're waiting for the campaign video, and what you get is a screeching eagle and rock music. Yikes. So, although it is very, very funny, and I don't know what I would prefer more, something like that, or soft-spoken, emotional piano music in the background, politician saying how much he cares about us when we know he doesn't. I don't know which one that I hate more or what I love more, but how about let's just do the right thing? No? Okay. I just don't like any of it. I don't like any of it, I guess, but I wouldn't want to show that video to someone who's in a third world country and just waiting to see who the president is. Because it's kind of, I feel like that would be a little bit offensive to them. Be like, what? What? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But I thought that was ridiculous, to be honest. By the way, I am drinking Whole Life Tea from wholelifetea.com. If you enter my code Tea Time, you'll get 20% off of every single order every time. It is a small business based out of Utah. The herbalist whose business it is, her name is Noelle. She has 4 kids and she is amazing. She's been an herbalist for the past 10 years. And she actually sent me Autumn Morning, like what was left in her warehouse, because this is my favorite. It is seasonal and it's about to come out again on her website. This is by far my favorite, and she has so many teas in wholelifetea.com. But even when I did a review of Whole Life Tea on my YouTube channel, and if you click through my YouTube right now, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see it. I was with another fellow comedian, Kyron Harrell, and we were reviewing all of the teas that she sent me. I didn't even have this because I had drank it all. So she sent me the rest of them that were in her warehouse. This is an amazing fall tea. I can't even explain it. There is gunpowder, apple pieces, cinnamon, rose hips, natural creme brulee flavor, marigold flowers, and rose petals. All of that together, it's just it's amazing. It tastes like a crisp autumn morning. And if you look on the back of all of these teas, you will see a QR code that tells you the health benefits of each tea. They are the same price as the shitty little tea bags you get in Target or Walmart or wherever you buy your tea, except they look like potpourri. It looks like potpourri. It is amazing quality, really good for gifts. She has a bunch of accessories as well on wholelifetea.com. Still, you'll get 20% off if you enter my code TEATIME. And I really like to support small businesses. I actually have a TV show on Channel 19, Chicago Public Broadcast, where I interview small businesses and artists in the Chicago area. I'm just really passionate about small businesses and artists, and this is both. She's a little artist and she's a little small business, so support Noelle. She's got a really, really great business going on. Now, back to Mad Hatter News. Dr. Meryl Nash just came out and spoke at the European Parliament recently, exposing the WHO, which I'm just going to keep calling the WHO, even though people in the comments are like, don't call it the WHO. I get it. That is a band, but I'm going to call it the WHO because I'm not going to say WHO the whole time. Okay, get over it. But she called out the WHO. By the way, Dr. Meryl Nash has been a leading researcher in bioterrorism in the United States for the past 26 years. And she came out and exposed the WHO, the WHO, saying that the WHO is trying to bypass all of the governments in the world and make it mandatory for them to just accept any mandate that they have with viruses that are coming out, any vaccines that they come out with. They are also going to develop these in 100 days or less, which is completely unheard of, and that the governments of every country doesn't really have a say. Now, if you remember back when COVID was at its height, there was a researcher who was under fire by the WHO, but we didn't really know too much about it. The WHO was saying that this researcher was a little cray-cray, that she is a conspiracy theorist, that she doesn't care about the public's health, that she's trying to prevent people from getting their vaccines or getting well. They also said she might be on drugs, and they eventually ended up barring her from practicing. That was Dr. Meryl Nash. When I looked more into it, what I saw was they were saying that she might be on drugs. She might be an alcoholic. She might be crazy. She might be this. She might be that. They just didn't know. They were throwing out anything to see what sticks. They stopped this woman from practicing. This woman has been, again, a leading researcher of bioterrorism for the past 26 years. She knows what she's talking about. She said you can't develop a vaccine in less than 100 days. You have to do a lot more testing than that, then make it mandatory for the entire planet to take. And she said that it wasn't ethical. And honestly, it seems very logical. Even though I know nothing about bioterrorism, know nothing really about biology other than the basics that I was taught in school, in high school and college, even that sounds messed up to us, right? Well, she came out and spoke at the European Parliament and was talking about some of the things that the WHO was saying in their new mandate, and I want you to hear it too. So here we go.
We're undergoing a soft coup, and the idea is to create a whole new set of laws and ignore the existing human rights laws and other laws under the pretext of pandemic preparedness and the biosecurity agenda. The WHO is developing through all its nations, but with the WHO Directorate in the United States in charge, a pandemic treaty and amendments to the existing international health regulations that will remove the human rights protections currently embedded in the IHRs, will enforce surveillance, censorship, get rid of freedom of speech, require governments to censor and only push a single narrative. Also, we will be subject, if they can make this work, to vaccines developed in 100 days, which the organization CEPI is planning to do. And one of the people who founded CEPI was Jeremy Farrar, who is now the chief scientist at the WHO, to bring this forward. Other things that the amendments do is to bind the states so they're no longer recommendations, but enforceable edicts. Provide a liability shield, get rid of intellectual property rights, move supplies from one country to another, enforce digital passports, and the Director General of WHO can demand that a pandemic or a potential pandemic exists. He can just declare it with no standards, and then countries around the world will have to obey.
This sounds like a New World Order.
Also, the WHO will tell you what drugs you can and can't use in your nation once a pandemic is declared. Obviously, the budget will increase. One Health is another part of this. One Health is a concept that was created to enable the WHO, with these documents, to take over jurisdiction of everything in the world by saying that climate change, animals, plants, water systems, ecosystems are all central to health. Also embedded in this concept is a peculiar notion that humans are no longer of greater value than animals.
Now, I don't know if that is necessarily what is written in what the WHO is trying to do, because I haven't seen it. I don't think anyone has. I don't think it's come out yet as of right now for us to physically see this and in black and white and make decisions for herself. But this is what she has digested from what the WHO is trying to do. And I don't know, that sounds really suspicious to me. There are almost 1,700 comments on this video that I made about it so far. A lot of people online were posting this video with zero context, by the way, and it seemed a lot of these creators that had no idea what was going on. They just knew it sounded crazy and they wanted views, which is irresponsible to the public. I kind of gave a little bit more information on who Dr. Meryl Nash is. And I also said that I didn't really, I hadn't seen it for myself. So, you know, it is neither here nor there at this point. I don't really know what's going on at this point. Until I see it, that's when we'll know. But people in the comments are saying they're going to kill her. They're going to kill her for coming out and saying this. It's true. It's true. I mean, they just come out and people are like, yes, unfortunately, she's been on Children's Health Defense for the past 3 years. There's a lot of information on what's really going on this free website. So I guess you can look up the free website on the Children's Health Defense and see some of this stuff if you want to do that right now. I always encourage everyone to do their own research and never just listen to the media, never just listen to me, never just listen to TikTok. There's always research that you can freely do on your own. And again, remember, Google censors immensely. And we all saw that with the Matt Bellinger thing. That was a #1 news story in the United States, and it wasn't being reported on, and it was censored on Google. You couldn't find a thing on Google about it, and yet it was the #1 news story in the United States at the time. Everyone needed to know about that. And if you haven't seen it, go on my YouTube and see the Matt Bellinger video, the #1 news story that is not being reported on America. If you haven't seen it, you need to go watch it right now, or actually after you finish this episode with me. It is the last one that I posted. Other people are saying, right, she's either going to go missing or be found like Kate Spade. If you remember, Kate Spade is a designer, and she was found hung, and it said that she did it to herself, but the way that they found her, she was hung from a doorknob. I believe it was her own doorknob in her house by a handkerchief. Sorry, that's not how you kill yourself. And in fact, that is the same way that people who are about to expose the government are found. Kate Spade was in the middle of an investigation of, I believe, child trading. I don't know what I'm allowed to say on these platforms, but you know what I mean, child trafficking. And she was found similarly to a lot of other people who have been found that were investigating the same topic. I believe that's what the topic was that she was looking into at the time. Again, I didn't make a video on it. I didn't research it too much, but that's at least what I remember. And it's almost like their calling card, I guess, the people that do this to the people, so that the rest of it's like a signal to the powers that be that they did their job or something. It's like a hit. It's like a mafia that we're all just kind of like aware of, but not really aware of. It's kind of crazy. Other people are saying we've evolved into cattle. That's exactly what they're talking. That's exactly what they're treating us like as cattle. They're treating us like cattle. Okay, let's develop this vaccine in less than 3 months and just give it to everybody. I'm sorry. You can't even finish a semester in college in 3 months, really. What is it? It starts in September, October, November. I mean, like, that's a semester in college. How are you going to develop a vaccine for a new virus that you've never seen before and administer it to the entire planet and have it go well in less than 100 days? That's crazy. That's crazy. Again, I'm no researcher in bioterrorism, but it's just logic. Some people are saying we need to read the proposal. I totally agree. And I said that in the video, and I also said that on this podcast. I want to read the proposal too, because of course you don't want to hear what someone has digested from their own reading or from their own what they understood as far as what they've heard. You want to see it for yourself and decipher it yourself. But I did make a short update right after I posted this video about how our government actually has a defense against this. There was a bill that was introduced to the Foreign Relations Committee of the Senate called the No WHO Pandemic Preparedness Treaty Without Senate Approval Act. So that's like a very wordy act, but basically you can find this on congress.gov. Feel free to go and check it out. That's what it's called. And it basically says that the WHO will not be able to do that. What it's trying to do, they're not going to be able to do that without approval from the Senate, period. And this was put into place by Donald Trump. I think that is a good thing that he did. So, yay, I guess. I don't feel like the WHO should be able to overstep the United States government and what they want for us, although I think the U.S. government doesn't have our best interests at heart anyway. I think that was a good thing that the Senate put into place. It does say in this bill that the majority of the American citizens are deeply skeptical of the WHO and their relationship with China. And I mean, that's true. A lot of people got the vaccine because they want to go to the bar. Were we really about it? Some of us were, some of us weren't. Some of us were questioning it. Some people got it very, very early on. And I was not one of those people. I did obviously get it. But I was very skeptical in the beginning, especially with how quickly they made it. The vaccine was made in an unprecedented amount of time, which should make anyone side-eye it, but whatever. I had a fun video I also posted called Why Men Should Never Be Making Laws About Women's Bodies, Part 10. I have a whole series on TikTok about this, why men should not be making laws about women's bodies. And I just started to use the comments from the comment section. People are coming out saying the craziest things that men have said about their own bodies, including their own husbands or boyfriends. But the fact we're on part 10 just tells me all I need to know about why men should not be making laws about women's bodies. Hello. They don't even know what's going on. We had to learn just through the process of being a woman what women's bodies are like. So imagine these men are just making laws about our bodies, not knowing anything about it. One person said, when my water broke at 4 a.m., I told my ex we needed to go to the hospital, and he actually told me to just hold it in until a more reasonable hour. It's crazy. Right now, even this video, part 10, has over 1,200 comments, and most of them are people telling us about their experience with men telling them what to do with her bodies. On this video, after I posted it, somebody, one of the comments says, my ex-husband thought I couldn't take a bath when I was pregnant because I will drown the baby. Yeah. Another one says, my ex-husband said I got a painful UTI as an excuse to not bring him to the dentist. He caused the UTI by not showering enough after work. He was a mechanic. Oh man, that's real gross. Well, thank God he's her ex. Some of these men are just evil. You know, a lot of it isn't just being ignorant, it's just being evil at the end of the day. Somebody else says, when I was pregnant with my daughter, my ex-husband would not allow me to take my nausea meds because his dad told him they would cause me to miscarry. These were directly prescribed by the doctor. So men think that they're smarter than doctors now. It's real great. Real great. Another person said that their doctor is now a U.S. senator and was telling them some inaccurate information as well. Like, what was it? This doctor turned U.S. senator told them that they miscarried because they didn't stop working and weren't home taking care of their kid. And it was their fault they miscarried because they went to work, even though their work is not a laborious job at all. And that person is now a U.S. senator. So I was telling her, you know, in that part 10, please tell us who it is. We all want to know. And I think some people in the comments actually found it out because they like narrowed it down. That's why I love my followers so much, is they narrowed it down to who it was. I need to go back and look at that. But again, there's over 1,200 comments on this video. Again, feel free to go to Tea Time with Sarah on TikTok. Follow me. Check out everything that we talk about, because we definitely start talking about it on Mad Hatter News at the end of the week and review it in a little bit more detail. But as of now, that is it for Mad Hatter News. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, make sure that you go to wholelifetea.com and get you some tea from Miss Noelle. It is tea time at checkout, 20% off every order, every time. By the way, don't forget to comment on this video because I do want to hear you guys' comments. Like, subscribe, do all that fancy stuff on this YouTube video if you're watching on YouTube. Don't forget to follow if you're listening to Mad Hatter News on Spotify as well, because sometimes you don't have time to just watch the video. You have to just listen to it while you're cleaning the house or whatever, and we can't fault you for that. Follow me on Spotify so that you can hear me while you're cleaning your house. Subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you back here next time. Bye, guys.